Good evening and welcome to Daily Record Hotline Live. Myself, Keith Jackson. You can see I'm joined by Scott Burns in his room of doom up north, and Des Roache, because we're going to get straight into it. There's a number of decisions from the weekend that I think we probably need the referee on. I think we should call this corner, I don't know what, don't mention the VAR, don't mention the VAR, I don't know. But there's, again, plenty to discuss on that. Scott, I know that you've been busy just working on a couple of news stories today. What's much happening?
Well, there's actually a couple of things. I mean, the Scottish international Max Johnson, who we know left Motherwell a couple of years ago for Austrian champion Sturm Graz, he's attracting a bit of interest. The Portuguese club SC Braga are very keen on him, but I believe there are a number of teams now looking at Max Johnson just for the impact he's now made playing in the Austrian Bundesliga. I know that's obviously a big watching ground for a lot of the Bundesliga teams as well. And Augsburg are another one who are looking closely at Max Johnson. They actually had an interest in Max Johnson when he was leaving Motherwell, so I think that's been a continuity there. But there's definitely interest growing in Max Johnson, and the way it's going, I would have to say I would probably expect bids this summer for the right back, who, of course, won his first Scotland cap there.
He did, and I was sitting next to your dad on the flight on the way home, very proud. Alan Johnson. It's just moving along quite nicely, his career, isn't it?
I think Max. A lot of eyebrows were raised. Obviously, he'd finished the season at Motherwell, had won the Football Writers' Young Player of the Year, and there was a bit of interest in him. I think a lot of people expected him maybe to sign a new contract at Motherwell, or if he was to go, expect him to go maybe to England or something. I think there was a lot of people looking down their nose a bit when he made the decision to go to Austria. You know what I mean? It's probably not seen as one of the top leagues in the world, but it's been a great experience for him where he's now playing every week. He won the league last season and he won the cup. You know what I mean? What more as a young Scottish player? What better experience can you get? You know what I mean?
And I think it really helps to round them as people as well. You know, that it's a big step to take, being a young guy moving to a foreign country, but you can see the benefits.
When he's gone there on his own as well, it's not as if he's gone out with his mum and dad or that. He's gone out there as a young lad. And I spoke to the sporting director at Sturm Graz when he first got his the call up this time, and basically he was saying that, like, the way Max Johnson, his work rate is second to none. He does so much work away from the ground. Away from the training ground. Even when he's at home, he does so much work. When training's finished, he does so much extra to try and improve himself in every aspect. So, guys like that, you wish every success. He deserves every break he gets, and if he's playing at a high level, like at Sturm Graz just now, and playing every week, it's only a matter of time before he's playing every week for Scotland, because we don't have a right back just now.
That's exactly right. I was just about to say that. It's another solution for a problem that we've had at right back for a while without Nathan Patterson and Alan Hickey. So, good. Yeah. And you were working on a bit of good news, a bit of light relief for Queen's Park.
It's been about a nightmare for Queen's Park, and with the Lord Willie Hockey pulling his sponsorship last week. Yeah. And basically the academy, which is obviously one of the best in the country, it's helped bring through the likes of Andy Robertson, Lawrence Shankland, Blair Spittle, numerous others. You know what I mean? Yep. It's a great academy, but all the parents and carers were pulled to a meeting the day after the Lord Hockey news was confirmed, and they were basically told that the academy was probably going to be closing with immediate effect.
It's a harmful.
Queen's Park's got one of the best youth setups in the country. There was no expense spared. Since then, I think they're running to the end of the season, but I now believe there might be some light at the end of the tunnel on that, because there are a couple of parties who are looking at sponsoring the Queen's Park Academy, and there is a hope that they can find a solution and keep it going. It might not be to the same financial extent as it was under Lord Hockey, but it would certainly be enough to keep the teams going, because in fairness to Queens, they've got a very good academy, and there's a number of number of teams looking at their players, English Premier League players just now, and they sold the goalkeeper to Bournemouth. So it would be madness if Queen's Park were just to walk away from that, because all the other clubs would just pick up the players.
I feel for them. It feels as if they've been clobbered over the head a little bit, doesn't it, over the last week or so? But fingers crossed for some good news in that one. Right, on to bad news, or I don't know if we're going to even have arguments, are we? But let's have a look at it anyway. Don't mention the VAR. Des, incidents, there were many, there were plenty. Hearts Dundee United, Kilmarnock Motherwell, the Rangers Hibs game, Celtic at St Johnstone. We've got a few issues to look at. Where shall we start? Let's start with James Wilson's red card, which Michael Stewart was determined to tell everybody was a disgraceful decision. It shouldn't have been a booking. Des?
I would refer to Michael Stewart's qualification as a referee to make that statement.
He's a qualified pundit, isn't he?
Aye, what qualifications do you need to be a pundit?
You don't.
Exactly.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be on here.
Listen, it's baffling. I have got no issue with that. James Wilson never went with any malice or intent. However, you can't challenge like that. He had a straight leg, right? So straight away, that's coming. He's come in at speed. He's come in high. He's come in over the ball. He's made contact with Stevenson on the shin. I'm sorry, Michael Stewart, but in 2025, that's a red card every day of the week. I really don't think there's any negotiation there.
It was a strange one. I must admit, I'm going to put my hand up here and say that there was one angle that I wasn't sure that he'd even made contact. But you see, and that was almost like a face-on angle. There was then an alternative angle, probably more from the side, and I think it showed you the view that Nick Walsh had of it, and he catches him quite high up in the shin. So for me, it is the right decision. And I don't think Nick Walsh was having a very good game up until that point. He'd called a foul on Beringme after he'd won 2 tackles in quick succession in the middle of the pitch to set Hearts off on a break. Should never have been called back. So I don't think he was having a great game, and maybe that jaundiced my opinion when he got the red card out for James Wilson. On review though, and seeing it on that angle, I think it was ultimately the right decision. And with you, Des, I don't think there's any malicious intent in there, but he's caught him high up. Scott, what was your view?
Well, I think you only have to look at what the Hearts manager Neil Critchley said after it. He said that meant that James Wilson's probably going to learn from it. You know what I mean? He certainly didn't come out and attack the referee. I mean, I think even with the letter of law, he hadn't acknowledged a red card could have been given. You know what I mean? For me, it was just too high. If he'd been a bit lower, then maybe it's not a red card, but I just thought it was too high, and I thought it was a red card, and I was baffled by Michael Stewart's comments, but it's not the first time.
He kind of digs himself into a position, doesn't he? And then he's not quick enough to adjust in terms of...
a bit like he's playing
once he says something, he feels he needs to keep arguing it all the way out, even when you're looking at the pictures and going, oh, hold on, that is halfway up his shin.
Even if you look at the pundits yesterday at half-time, they weren't having it either. But Michael Stewart, obviously, in the second half, tried to double down again, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think he's in the minority in this one.
There we are. We've got a comment here from Craigie. Stonewall red card, dangerous play. I think we're agreed. Marzuno, it wasn't vicious, but it was dangerous. Yep. I think that just about sums that one up. Now, this one is going to be interesting. Kofi Balmer's red card at Rugby Park on Saturday. Des, talk me through it. That's a good picture. It's a very good picture.
Right, I'm going to strip it back here. Right, football's a physical sport. It's a contact sport. Kofi Balmer, in my opinion, and people may disagree, but in my opinion, Kofi Balmer has done the only thing that he could there. He's went for a challenge to clear the ball. It was in the defending third for Motherwell. He's won the ball. He's kicked through. His leg's got to go somewhere. And I'm sorry, but do you know what, guys? You're going to have a wee bruise now and then. It is a physical sport. I don't think for a minute it was serious foul play. And I have no idea Andrew Dallas got involved to bring Matthew McDermott across to issue a red card. I think that was absolutely shocking.
Well, why are they doing it? I mean, look, two things. First of all, you mentioned with the James Wilson one, it was a straight leg. I think Kofi Balmer is guilty of overextending his leg a little bit. I know what you mean. Where's it supposed to go? But he did straighten it out.
But
I wasn't delighted with that. But I wonder, do you know what I actually think? I wonder if this was a reaction to the Merseyside derby and the James Tarkowski. That our guys were on red alert for trying to see something similar and maybe seeing what wasn't there with that. Because to compare the two of them, it's quite ludicrous.
Yeah, I don't think... And I know we also spoke about it during the week about the Tarkowski one. The Tarkowski one was premeditated for me.
Yeah.
He knew exactly what he was doing. He had intent. I don't think for a minute Kofi Balmer's went there with intent. I think Kofi Balmer's intent was to clear the ball, to let Motherwell set back up. And his leg has just happened to go through. You can't pull out of a tackle, or you can't pull out of striking the ball when it's going there. It's unfortunate that it's made contact with the Kilmarnock player, but these things happen sometimes. Not every physical contact is a foul. Not every physical contact is a red or yellow card. These are things that, as I said to you, it happens in the game, isn't it? It's an occupational risk.
So why are VAR jumping into that then? Because I'm in agreement, right? I'm in agreement. I think it's much to do about nothing. I do wonder if he's straightened his leg more than he had to, but I'm with you. I don't think it's a red card. I just don't understand why VAR feels the need to jump into the middle of that and pull the referee over the screen. I
don't think he should have. And Matthew had a pretty decent view on it, and we'll come on to Matthew later on. But to me,
that's Matthew McDermott.
Yes, to me that is Andrew Dallas re-refereeing the game. It was a needless intervention.
I've spoken to somebody very close to the player, and the player is adamant that he actually moves his foot and catches him with the side of his foot rather than the studs. He actually moved to try and limit the impact. But
so he didn't make contact. In an attempt to not make contact.
Not make contact yet. He's caught the side of the boot rather than with the studs. He said he's tried to pull it. He's tried to pull. You know what I mean? When he's going through. And there was no malice in it. He's just, but where am I meant to put my foot? So
yeah, I can agree with that.
I mean, the fact is, see if he left his studs in or genuinely went to hurt the player, then fair enough. But the player is adamant that's not the case.
Yeah, and Motherwell have appealed that one.
Yes.
Do you expect him to win it, Des?
I don't know. That's a 50-50. It's a 50-50.
Well, why would that be? Because you're sitting here, right? You're our guy.
In my opinion.
You're saying the VAR should never have got involved. It was never a red card. So if that's how you see it in your own head...
But I'm not the SFA disciplinary committee. I'm not the one that makes the decision on it.
But are you suggesting that they might make decisions which they know to be wrong just in order to support their referees?
I could never confirm or deny.
I'll take that as a yes.
I think that it should be overturned. Personally, I don't think that's a red card offence. However, the SFA will try everything in their powers to support the referees.
Right. It's not a very healthy state of affairs, is it?
It never has been.
Yeah.
What I would say, Keith, is that if a decision is 50-50, I would expect the SFA to go with the referee, always go with the referee.
Mm-hmm. And do you think this is a 50-50?
I don't think it's a 50-50 at all. I don't think it's a red card. I think it's an absolute disgrace. And it's
Matthew gave nothing for it at the time.
Yeah,
nothing for it.
He was quite right.
So there we go then. So in our court of justice here, Kofi Balmer has been cleared and that red card will be rescinded on appeal. Del Boy's asking, does VAR show the ref the whole motion or just a still? It's the whole motion, isn't it, Des?
Yeah, it's the full motion. Stills can show anything you want, but yeah, it'll be the full lineage of play.
We've got another comment here. Get the refs to watch Roy Aitken, Souness, Roy Keane, etc., then go and watch VAR again. Well, that might be an education. Right, now, same game, Des. Dominic Thompson and Danny Armstrong. Your view?
It's a comedy of errors, wasn't it? An absolute comedy of errors. I think Matthew, he tried to slow down. He tried to make take his time. But Dom Thompson, let's be fair, right? Dom Thompson wanted to delay play, slow play up, get on top of the commanding player, maybe leave a wee bit on him. But there's nothing there. Absolutely nothing there at all. And that's where Andrew Dallas, as much as I've given him issue for the previous one getting involved when he should have done, he's dug Matthew out a hole there. Didn't dig him out the hole that he'd done him for the first time, but he's dug him out a hole there. And I just don't know what Matthew was seeing there. There was nothing in. There was no violent conduct. There was no serious foul play. It was just two players. See if he'd got the pair of them up and just said, had a good word in their ear, that would have been brushed over in 10 seconds. I think Matthews had a bit of a nuke there, to be fair.
Do you know what, Des? I'm going to disagree.
Are you?
I think what's happened there is, I think Danny Armstrong has got a bit of Dom Thompson's shirt. I think he's pulling him as the two of them are going to ground. And I think that Dom Thompson reacts to that angrily. And it's almost like a pile driver movement, straight for WWE. I think he's a bang out order. And again, I'm looking at going, I don't know why VAR gets involved. The referee's seen it. He knows what he's seen. And by the way, if I'm Dom Thompson and I think I've been picked on unfairly on that occasion, I'm not going up the tunnel, because I'm going to sit and just say, well, VAR will watch that. If you're Dom Thompson, you think you've done nothing wrong, you don't go up the tunnel. You wait for VAR to clear you. That's my view. Scott?
I think in the heat of the moment, I think he's lost the rag.
That's what I think.
And no, I don't mean that. And just with everything that's happened, and that's how he's gone up the tunnel. And he's probably the best place for him, because by all accounts, some of the commanding staff or subs were filming at him as well when he was walking out, and there might have been a bit of a face-off there. So he was probably better himself get away from the incident before anything else kicked off. For me, I didn't think it was a red card.
No.
I thought the player himself was stupid, as in moving his body towards him.
And his head.
But Danny Armstrong's done him as well. Danny Armstrong's done him no favours.
So is that correct? Is that not the exact situation? You say, both of you are at it. Don't be stupid. Yep. Let's get up. Get on with the game. If a yellow card each, I could probably take that. Yeah. But it's not enough and sufficient enough for a red card.
No.
You might have won me over, Des. You might have won me over. Right, there was a couple of handballs in the games involving Celtic and Rangers. Rio Hatate, handball at Perth, could have been a potential penalty. James Tavernier, handball at Ibrox, could have been a potential penalty for Hibs. Now, the reason I bring these up, Des, is that when we first introduced VAR, these things were getting handed out like sweeties every week. Penalty kick for even if the ball looked like hitting somebody in the arm. Has there been a change? Is this a Willie Columnism?
A Willie Columnism? Is that a new one for the dictionary?
Yeah.
I think there has been a leniency on handballs this year. Certainly last year was at the start.
It was mental.
It was ridiculous. I always say handball should be judged on intent and what's the opportunity for the attacking team. I'm really happy that it wasn't. I said it last week as well at the Celtic Hearts game. Can't remember the boy's name. Was it Milne who did the handball in the Celtic penalty that wasn't awarded? No, I'm quite happy. Hatate was off balance. He was falling backwards. No. And Tavernier as well. No, there was no what would you say, incremental influence on the game.
But this is good
decisions.
News then, isn't it?
It is good news.
If we're being a little bit more kind of lenient with this sort of stuff, because I think that was infuriating people. It was infuriating people when VAR first came in, and it was just penalties getting handed out left, right, and centre. So if this is a Willie Collum change, if he's implemented this and driving it, I'm all for that. Scott, what about yourself?
I think it's a positive, because certainly last season it was like every time the ball went in the box and it was anywhere near the hand, it seemed to be a penalty. So it was just madness. It was chaos. I mean, players
What was the one at Celtic Park where the ball actually stoats up and comes up and hits was it a Celtic player in the hand, and the Celtic get a penalty against him for it. It was absolutely crazy.
Aye.
Huh?
Was it from behind or something? Was it
Yeah,
Welsh or something? No, I can't.
mental.
Aye. No, I think it's a good thing. I think it's the SFA deserve a bit of credit this time around that they've improved that handball rule, because otherwise it's just utter madness every other week.
Yeah. Right, okay, so that's those two. Now, two further decisions from these matches. Where Celtic denied a penalty late on, I mean, it was right at the death when Alistair Johnson kind of was bundled to the ground inside the 6-yard box. I think it was a corner kick. Des, what was your view?
Well, between the guys that I'm obviously still talking with, it sort of split decision. Personally, I don't think it was a penalty. I think when you see it, Alistair Johnson, he's put both his arms around the St Johnstone players first.
He's got an arm around as if it's giving him a bit of leverage.
Yeah. So he's created the initial contact, and then again, as you look at stills and you see it slowed down, it's almost like as if a St Johnstone player's cradling him at one point, like he's holding a baby. But I think Alistair Johnson's initiated that contact, and he's looked for the penalty there. He's made himself in that position. But no, I'm not giving a penalty for that.
I wasn't sure, Scott. Did you get a chance to see it?
I saw it, yeah. I didn't think it was a penalty. I just thought that he was obviously trying to attempt an overhead kick. He was blocked off by the defenders, and I didn't see too much in it, I have to say.
Again, see, I think there's two angles. There's one angle where you think it's Alistair Johnson that's causing it. There's another angle from behind the goal where it looks very much as if the St Johnstone players almost scooped him up off the ground. And I think if you see that and you look at that, if you're VAR, I think you've got a decision to make.
Is it clear and obvious?
Des?
Yeah. Well, it's not clear. But I'm in agreement with you here, Keith. When you see that angle, you think about it, and you go, "Oh, right." But when you watch it in live motion and live stream, Alistair Johnson is one who initiates the contact. He's grabbed the St Johnstone player. He's held him. The probably St Johnstone player's done him a favour. He could have let him go and he could have fell on his back and hurt himself. He's probably trying to support him. But no, I don't think there's enough in that for a penalty kick.
Okay, and then the last one, Cyril Dessers wanted a penalty late on at Ibrox against Hibs. I assume that he wasn't going to take it if he did get it, but he wanted the award given anyway. He claimed to be manhandled by Jack Iredale. What was your take on that one, Des?
You can't deny that there was contact, but there wasn't enough for that to be sufficiently for a penalty. That was probably his best chance, of the game. But nah, I'm okay with that. I think Don was fine.
So you're allowed to shove in the back then in the penalty?
You're not allowed to shove in the back, but that wasn't a shove. There was contact. There's always going to be contact. There's a difference between contact and a shove. Come on, Keith. You've been about this game long enough. Come on. Are you telling me that's a shove?
No, Burnsy.
Des, you've been shoved into that answer.
Oh no, I've not been Burnsy. I've not been shoved into that answer. Keith trying to nudge me into an answer that I'm not willing to give. So no, the referee got it correct. It was not a penalty kick.
Burnsy.
Got to say, I thought.
So Scott, we missed that. You kind of dropped out on us.
It's not a bad thing.
He's doing a me.
The Wi-Fi did you a favour. I thought that the officials got that one right. I didn't think it was a penalty. As Des says, I didn't think there was enough for the penalty.
But do you know what I think?
Rangers afternoon as well.
Well, I think it does, and I think it sums up Dessers. I don't know why he's not staying in his feet there. I think if he makes more of an attempt to get to the ball rather than to win a cheap penalty, I think he's got a tap in an empty net. I don't know why he goes down. I certainly don't think it was enough for a penalty kick. So that's us. That brings us to the end. Des, you're off the hook.
That's good. That's fine. I will stay on and watch the rest of the show, and I'm sure I'll speak to you soon, guys.
Brilliant, Des. Thanks for joining us, and no doubt at some point in the coming days, I would imagine with there's so much on the games this weekend, I think it's highly likely that we'll have to have a don't mention the VAR next Monday night, because a lot of big games, a lot riding on them. So yeah, I expect all the fun of the fair.
That's fine. I'll check my phone and see how many times you text me.
Right, brilliant, Des. Thanks for that, mate.
Cheers, guys. Enjoy the rest of the show. Cheers, Scott.
Des.
Thank you.
Scott, loads of comments since the weekend on the Rangers situation and Barry Ferguson. I wrote a column about it today. I'm suggesting that Rangers might be making a mistake if they rush into appointment elsewhere. John Spence says, after the latest Ibrox debacle, our season of unprecedented lows continues. 5 home games lost in a row, with the possibility of becoming 6 on Thursday night, as they appear determined to take us fans into uncharted depths of despair. Not happy, John. We've got another one here from Lewis Fotheringham. It's now time for Ferguson to drop Butland following yet another error. Being the number 1 goalkeeper shouldn't mean you're not immune to being dropped. And Robert Livingston, Ferguson knew what he was getting into. You can't make bad players into champions by shouting at them. Realistically, Barry's best chance to get the job all hinge on making the Europa League final. So the semi-final not good enough for Robert. Scott, what's your views on where Rangers are, where Barry Ferguson is at this minute in time? Because Thursday night is just such a monumentally huge game for them on any basis.
Oh, I mean, it certainly is. Was it quarterfinals of the Europa League? It's a massive game. I don't think anybody at the start of the season would have expected Rangers to get to this sort of level, but they've just had an amazing run in Europe. Especially when you compare it to what they've done. It's just night and day. And I'd hate to be a Rangers manager to see how badly they can play at a weekend, and then when they go into that European arena on a Thursday night, it's just like Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
I remember after was it the first game in Turkey, I think we were asked to put our predictions up. I don't think obviously any of us backed Rangers to win that game, and I think a lot of us took it in the neck from the Rangers fans there. But on current form, how could you back Rangers? But in Europe, you don't after losing to Hibs at the weekend, you wouldn't think they would have a snowball's chance in hell against Athletic Club on Thursday. But the point is, this Rangers team have proved before they can go out and get results. Would you be surprised if they got a result at Ibrox on Thursday night? I probably wouldn't be. But it's just
It's a very strong Bilbao side. I think they're fourth in the Liga just now. They've got some really talented players, and Barry Ferguson must be looking at that dressing room just now, and he's got so many big decisions to make ahead of picking 11 players on Thursday night, Scott, because it's really difficult for him to know if he can trust any of them.
The problem is that they are a top team of Athletic Bilbao, and they were certainly going as strong favourites. But if you look at the last 3 games, they've not scored a lot of goals. So, but it's whether Rangers can keep it tight at the back end, which has been a major issue, certainly domestically for Barry. He's got some big decisions to make. Does he keep Jack Butland? Surely it's time to take him out the firing line.
Interesting you say that, Burnsy. I caught up earlier today with Andy Newport, and we had a discussion very much centred around exactly that. Andy, obviously you were at Tynecastle yesterday. We never really got to tap into your thoughts on the ongoing situation at Rangers. I kind of put forward a sort of different proposal in last night's show, which was if it's really hard to judge if Barry Ferguson and his group of staff are the right people for this job, given the flakiness of the performances of the players, the guys that can't be trusted to go to their work. So I'm actually wondering if it's starting to crystallise and become a little bit more black and white. Either what you've seen of Barry Ferguson and his staff so far makes you believe that they should be given a shot, or what you've seen so far makes you think Rangers need to go down a different route. What do you agree with that assessment? And if so, have you got a foot in either camp?
It's more, I agree with the section of what you're saying there, is that the one thing that they can't be trusted upon, the one group that can't be trusted is the group of players, because how many managers have they now let down? We're talking.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been an evolution of the squad over 3-4 years, but the current sort of standard has been that they've disappointed every guy who's been in charge, and that goes, that speaks to the poor recruitment, the poor way that they've looked at targets and the qualities that they think that they're bringing in. They've not brought enough of that steeliness that has always been key in any successful Rangers team. In terms of Barry, I think it was always going to be a long shot for him to get the job. I think he would have had to have done something pretty remarkable to really make himself a serious contender. I think, there have been some landmark results in there, winning away in Istanbul, beating Celtic. These are the kind of things that will make Andrew Kavanagh and the other people that are coming in sit up and take notice. I'm sure they can't fail to have been impressed by the way that those two results were won. But it's the bread and butter that wins your leagues. Rangers might very well end up beating Celtic 3 times this season and finish 10, 15 points adrift.
That's the point that Barry's making himself, though, Andy, isn't it? That these players seem to have a motivational issue, and I know it's the manager's job to get them motivated. But they seem to just check out at moments where they don't seem to be that interested in playing in the bread and butter games. That's the very point that Barry Ferguson makes. And my point is, can you blame Barry Ferguson for Cyril Dessers missing 8 chances over 2 games? Can you blame him for Jack Butland throwing the ball into the back of his own net? I think it becomes really difficult to fairly assess how good or not this current Rangers coaching setup might be.
I mean, the point you can make is, well, having seen everything we're going to see of Cyril Dessers, what was the purpose in starting him again? A guy who missed 9 chances before finally taking one at Dundee. Okay, it was the one he took was the winner. It was probably the hardest one he was been presented with that whole time. But the one thing we know about Cyril Dessers is he's flaky and he's unreliable. You cannot be guaranteed that he's going to take chances, and the only thing that he can be guaranteed is he's going to miss chances. So, is there any sense in sticking with this guy? And listen, I've been back and forth with Cyril Dessers over his time here because there is something there, but as you say, you just can't rely upon it week after week, and even within the same game, you can't rely upon them to take chances. So, I mean, from Barry Ferguson's perspective, what is the purpose of sticking with him? Why not try a Danilo who's been out of the picture? And I still don't think we truly know his full potential, because anytime he looks like he's shown something, an injury comes along and he finds himself out of the team. Why not try them? Why is Connor Barron getting a game on Saturday? I think we all realise that Connor Barron's now not going to be answered. Why are we not trying Bailey Rice, for example? Why is Barry Ferguson not saying, let's try Bailey Rice?
I think he's been injured, hasn't he? He got a knock at Dens.
Yeah, but I mean, even just through the spell that he's been involved in, he's gone back to guys that I think at times this season have already proved that they are not good enough. But then this comes down to what other options are there. It's a difficult one for Barry. I absolutely feel from that circumstance. The reason he's in there is because this squad isn't good enough.
Yeah,
I just think he had to do something pretty remarkable if he was going to really get his name in the hat.
Does pretty remarkable, does that come into the bracket of putting out Athletic Bilbao and reaching a semi-final?
I think that would be. I think that would certainly boost his chances again, because I think that would be a landmark result. That would be that would surpass what he's done already in terms of that Celtic and Fenerbahce game. But I still think at the end of the day you have to be taking, and as he said himself, he has to be taking care of the bread and butter, and the fact that he can he himself as a manager can get these players up for winning at Celtic Park, can get them up to start so fantastic over in Istanbul, and get 2 domestic games in a row. They've really sort of stumbled out the blocks. Again, it's one of these ones. It's difficult because he is the guy right now who's in charge and who's the buck rests with him.
Yeah.
But again, it's just this group of players. As I've said, I think there's something within this group. psychologically, character-wise, lack of steel, that just they cannot go time and time again, and that is what that's why come the summer, whatever money that the 49ers and Andrew Kavanagh have to spend, I think a lot of it will be spent just trying to shift guys on.
Aye, that's got
like they did the last summer. They had to. It wasn't they only made £800,000 selling 5 guys. They made a lot more than that. They then had to turn around and hand it back to these guys to basically get them off the wage bill. I think they're going to have to do that again. I think they're going to have to do that again this summer.
Right. Well, the big question going into Thursday night, Andy, one of the big questions will be on Jack Butland as well. If you're Barry Ferguson, can you trust him, or do you put Liam Kelly in?
I don't think you can trust Jack Butland in current form. I think he is so far away from the goalkeeper we saw last season. He was basically went entire season up to the final minute of the Scottish Cup final without making a mistake. But this, he's barely going a half of football these days without making a mistake. And the one on Saturday was so inexplicable that I don't think he deserves to start. I think his current form is the kind of form that gets you dropped. And I think Liam Kelly, who, yes, we all agree on his day, is nowhere near the goalkeeper that Jack Butland is on his day. But when Liam Kelly came in, I don't think he made too many blunders. I don't think he made too many mistakes that suggest that he shouldn't be at least handed an opportunity. Now, yes, this is the biggest game of the season, but can Barry Ferguson really rely upon Jack Butland to do the necessary Thursday night? I'm not sure he can.
This kind of just sums up the whole Rangers squad, doesn't it? You can't pick them with confidence, know what you're going to get out of them. Yeah. Because right now, if Butland plays and he throws another one in, then that one will get blamed on Barry Ferguson as well. And this time you'd maybe need to say, well, there's a bit of merit in there because he ultimately has to pick this team. He has to pick players that he knows he can trust.
I mean, it'd be the least surprising thing in the world if this Rangers team somehow got a result on Thursday night and then went to Georgia at the weekend and stumbled again. I mean, this is where they're at. They are just a schizophrenic, dual personality football team, and this is why Barry Ferguson has been in the job 5-6 weeks, and all that looks to have aged about 5 or 6 years in that time. So, in terms of his selection, his promise changes. It's going to be interesting how bold he goes. If it's just thinking around the edges and a Yilmaz come in for a Yefte or something along those lines, then I don't think that'll be what most people are hoping. I think a lot of Rangers fans will expect to see Jack Butland get dropped because there's just no way that on current form he can be relied upon to do what a goalkeeper should be doing. Is saving this straightforward, the safe, the tame shots that come right at him. I mean, that's talking about a header last week that should have been taken in his midriff, spilled. You're talking about another shot that should have been grabbed at the weekend, pushed it back. He's let it slip under him. The goal against Motherwell, another really tame shot, pushed back into traffic, and results in a goal. So these are the things that drive supporters mad. And I think the easy call for Barry Ferguson is to put Liam Kelly in goals because Jack Butland, as I say, just can't be trusted at the moment.
We'll find out on Thursday night, Andy. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Cheers, Keith. Thanks.
Scott, before we go, you're Barry Ferguson. What are your key decisions? Jack Butland, Cyril Dessers, Diamondi suspended. What does your midfield look like? He's got a lot on which to ponder over the next couple of days, does he not?
He's got a lot of big decisions. As I said to you, I think, when I said earlier, but I agree with Andy there. I mean, it's a no-brainer for me in the goalkeeping department. Liam Kelly's got to play because I think everyone, or the majority of people at Rangers, have lost faith in Jack Butland. I mean, he was a good. I mean, he was saying he was a good goalkeeper last year. He was a good goalkeeper last year. He wasn't at the point where Rangers were linked him with an England call and that. He was never at that level. And that's, if you look at his career.
Southgate came to watch him.
Yeah, he was never at that level. Never at that. I mean, when I say never at that level, obviously he's played for England before, but last season was not for me. And I just think that Rangers probably have so little assets that at that point they were trying to talk him up. I don't think. I mean, this season he's been a a shadow of what he was last season. And I said, Liam Kelly has come in as a backup. He probably didn't expect to play in a game like this, but I think that the Rangers backline would have far more confidence with Liam Kelly behind them than Jack Butland. Who does Barry play in the midfield? Does he stick with Connor Barron? Connor Barron's taking a lot of stick, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's Rami in and out. I mean, there are players there who can quite easily turn it on, but you just don't know. So somebody said in the comments earlier, they said it's like a bag of rebels. You just don't know what you're going to get with Rangers.
Yeah, that was John Curry. Thanks for your comments as ever, John. Yeah, well, I guess we'll find out close at the time, but yeah, I think there might be a couple of sleepless nights for Barry Ferguson, Neil McCann, Billy Dodds, trying to piece a reliable starting 11 together for exactly that same reason.
Keith, away from that, yeah, I mean, obviously, you're the one that broke the takeover story.
Mm-hmm.
What are you hearing as it stands?
It's basically disappeared down a legal rabbit hole, and where it will remain until such times as the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, Scott. I know that there's, people will want to, put rumours about that the thing's collapsing or it's not going through. That flies in the face of everything that I'm being told. As far as I'm being told, all parties remain keen to get it concluded. And I was told to expect that could or should happen before the end of April. So I'm guessing, Scott, that it should become crystallised one way or the other in the next couple of weeks. But there's no snag. I tell you what, I probably fully expect the 49ers and Andrew Kavanagh, maybe not Andrew Kavanagh, but I would expect the American consortium will be represented again on Thursday night at Ibrox, because Andrew Kavanagh was in Istanbul for the round of 16 first leg against Fenerbahce. He then flew to Glasgow. There was a 4-man delegation in a city centre hotel ahead of that one. They stayed, they went to the training ground, they went to Celtic Park on the Sunday. So they've shown a significant interest. I would imagine, I'd be surprised if there wasn't representatives, put it that way, at Ibrox on Thursday night. But I'm told it's just a matter of, the legal formalities. Are you hearing something different?
No, what I'm hearing is that obviously I'm told that the deal is quite close to the finishing line. But for me, what I was told is that there may be some Rangers directors who are getting a bit frustrated at the time it's now taken to complete this deal. Yeah, not that I'll put it to the brink end, but that's what I was told.
No, I'm sure there are, because look, what have you got? You've got Dave King, you've got John Bennett, and you've got Barry Scott, who are looking to sell outright. Their whole shareholding is going to go, and I think that would take Andrew Kavanagh and the Americans up to about 25%. Then you've got separate, and this is why it's been really complicated. It's been a complicated deal from the start, because it's not as simple as, X going to Y and just saying, I'll take your shares, as they managed to do at Leeds. It was more straightforward. There's so many different strands, so many conversations that have to be had in so many different time zones. With regards to, if you've got yourself to 25%, which they do, if I'm one of these guys, Dave King, John Bennett, or Barry Scott, I'm kind of thinking, I agreed this weeks ago. I want the cash to drop into my bank account soon, but I think that it becomes further complicated that in order to get to the target of 51%, they then have to enter into separate, right, how many percent am I getting off you? Who's giving me that? Who's giving me X, Y, Z? So I think that's complicated it, but I don't think there's any barriers to it. Although I know I'm fully aware the longer this goes on, the more people will start to think is something amiss. We shall see, Scott, and we shall see if the Americans turn up at Ibrox on Thursday night. I'd rather suspect they might, and then we might get a chance to get in front of them and ask them those very questions. Okay. And until then, Scott, we'll be back again tomorrow night. Thanks, Scott, for joining us. Thank you to Des for coming on earlier, and Andy, and thank you for all the comments that have come in on YouTube and across the socials. and we'll do it all again this time tomorrow night. Thanks very much, guys.
Cheers.